Yeah, so it's a wonderful thing. Excuse me, a wonderful thing. Another book has arrived in your Brazilian Portuguese, and hopefully it will become useful to many different people. Books are a kind of condensation of hundreds of hours of activity, especially a book like this, which is a compilation of edited transcripts. So there's the teaching, then the transcribing, then the editing, then the translating, then the putting of the book together, with different people participating at different times to ensure that the work goes ahead successfully. And having the spirit of collaboration, of working together peacefully, effectively, giving useful feedback is so very important. From what I can gather from the bits of information I get, in Brazil, you've been living for many, many years with deep conflicts in society. And this generates for many people the idea that conflict is better than collaboration. Although when we collaborate, everyone can participate and everybody gains something from that process, when our focus becomes turned towards conflict, then it moves into this polarity of winning and losing. And the idea of winning, of victory, of dominating the enemy starts to transform people into cruel oppressors. And so in the electoral system, which is based on conflict, so many unpleasant things are said that any kind of rapprochement or collaboration afterwards is very difficult to achieve. We can see this in America with what has happened to the Republican Party, having gone under the power of this conspiracy thinking. They become suspicious of the intentions of the other. We are the good people, we have the truth, and the other people are wrong and they're bad and dangerous. And because they are like that, I don't want to meet them, I don't want to see them. And so people get further and further locked inside the box of their dogmatic belief. And we see this process happening in many countries. So when a small group of our Sangha friends join together in a project to create books and to make Dharma available, this is a very beautiful antidote to the pattern of hostility. That people can meet together and be thoughtful of the benefit of others. That we can think, how could my work and effort and attempts at clarity make life easier for others? So the book becomes a manifestation of the Bodhisattva intention. And so when we dedicate the merit from the book out to all beings, the benefit manifests in a much increased form. Dharma can be quite lonely. Brazil is a big country. The people who are interested in these kind of teachings seem to be quite spread out in different areas. It's probably not possible to meet many of you together physically very often. But nonetheless, the general wish, the shared wish to be of benefit to others, to understand our own mind, to remove the blockages that get in the way of true connectivity, this is an enormously warming aspect. When we get trapped in isolation, we are like water freezing into ice. Each of us ends up like a little cube that you might have in the freezer. What we share is the fact that we are all water, but we can't flow together and collaborate when we're held in this fixed shape. Now, if we're strongly identified with our fixed shape, then the thought of melting and losing that shape can be quite frightening. But through our study and practice, we come to see that actually warming and melting and being able to flow in the flow of events, working with circumstances, this is not only much more beneficial than the frozen isolation, but it's also much more pleasurable. A lot of work has gone into the production of the book, and hopefully some pathways will be found that will help to make it available to other people. It could be advertised online, or maybe some articles could go into any Buddhist journals that are available. And of course, the key point is that we are all learners. Due to the patriarchal background of a lot of Buddhist presentation, there's a fixation on the teacher. Someone who's special and better than other people. But this is not a helpful approach, I believe, because everybody has Buddha nature. The capacity for awakening is intrinsic. Nobody has more Buddha nature than anyone else. But there is a process of ripening. And the ripening arises due to causes and conditions. So I don't know about the seasons in Brazil, but in England, for example, after winter in the springtime, there is a clear sequence of flowers that come out. First come the snowdrops, little white flowers, then crocuses, which are yellow and purple, and then daffodils. Now, the fact that the snowdrops come first doesn't mean that they're the best flower of all the flowers. They just flowered a little bit earlier. So when the daffodils come, we say, wow, how wonderful. So when each of us becomes Buddha, thousands of trumpets will be sounding in all the sky. It is very difficult for we human beings to avoid hierarchies. Yet again and again, the Buddha says, the ground of everything is unborn emptiness, and all that appears is inseparable from unborn emptiness. So all appearances are equal in their emptiness. This is the basis of our respect for the dignity of all sentient beings. But when this is not understood, then we create these hierarchies based on education or race or money, and then take there to be truly important differences between people and attribute them different status. This way of thinking creates real difficulties for collaboration. Everybody can participate. There's always something that people can do. They can help to fold paper or look up details. There's always some task that people can be invited to join in. Now, of course, if we're spending a lot of time making books, we want them to be good. But in our modern social structures, there tends to be an emphasis on efficiency rather than inclusion. So now in modern car factories, a lot of the work is done by robots, and many thousands of people who had jobs before are now unemployed. So part of thinking about how a Sangha can develop is to consider the question of inclusivity. And that actually inclusivity is maybe more important than efficiency. Because participating in the work, you extend yourself, your skills, your knowledge, your capacity comes out into the world, and it gives you a chance to see yourself. Gives you a chance to see yourself. That is to say, we are revealed to ourselves through our participation. As we look many times in the teachings, we don't have a fixed identity, a fixed self inside, which is already fully formed. We have a potential which emerges due to causes and conditions. So it's maybe an important question of how Brazilian Sanghas can collaborate to make an environment in which there is a place for everyone. So now we're going to look a little bit at this repelling all troubles. And I'll say something as we go through it. So I will recite it just in its. I'll give you the sense of it as we go through it. So first of all, we say, I go to refuge for the Buddha, Dharma, and the assembly of the excellent ones until enlightenment is gained. Through the virtue of practicing generosity and the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of beings. So the emphasis when we take refuge and bodhicitta is that we go from being isolated people with our own self-definition to joining the Buddha family. And we trust that just as we think about the Buddhas, so they think about us. Buddha is not just a symbol or an idea. Buddhas are a quality of presence, which is connective. Most of the time, we're not aware of this because we are so preoccupied with our worldly concerns. We take refuge. We say, I want to have the movement, the trajectory of my life integrated with the work of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And my life is for the benefit of all. This is a statement which is beautiful in itself. It's a wonderful thing to hope for, to aspire to. But it's also reminding us in a different way that we are, again, already connected. We want to work for the benefit of all. So later in the text, when we're thinking about overcoming obstacles and difficulties, these arise primarily because human beings in particular, under the power of delusion, say, I don't care. As long as my concerns are satisfied, I don't care what happens to others. This selfish, self-centered orientation is what turns sentient beings into, if you like, demons or mad creatures. So inclusivity is the profound antidote to this individualistic thinking. And the next part, the 7-branch practice, again, is a practice of participation. We bow, we make offerings and confessions, we rejoice in the merit of others, we ask for Dharma teaching and request the Buddhas not to die. These are all ways of saying the project of universal liberation is wonderful, and those who carry it out are truly the ones who deserve our respect. Oh, we see that on national holidays, they have military marches and all the generals are out with all their medals and they look so amazing, having killed so many people. We poor bodhisattvas are not on the podium. the band isn't playing for us. But we are in the background throwing flowers in the air and saying, throw your weapons away, friends. Look at the flowers. Because we say to the Buddhas, please bring more Dharma into the world. Please support us. Don't vanish. Don't abandon us. And this is particularly important if we're thinking about the many countries in the world where people are persecuted. In Myanmar, the army has been in power for over 50 years. There's very little freedom. There are so many people in prison. There's so much fear. Same in Iran, so much fear for these brave young women who are out in the streets protesting. But of course, we need to remember to resist the temptation to create two categories of people. The good people who do the things that we appreciate, and the bad people who do things we don't like. All beings have Buddha nature. But until that Buddha nature is fully ripened, we also have tendencies of delusion and confusion and bias and prejudice. So it's very important to maintain the sense that all beings, no matter what they've done, no matter how selfish and cruel they have been, this is just like a dense clouds in the rainy season that cover the sky. Actually, the sky is always open, even when it's full of clouds. The intrinsic purity of the mind of all sentient beings is there. That's the basis of our being alive. So whatever work we do, whenever we generate some benefit, we share it with all. Then we have the four immeasurables. Well, we say, may all beings have happiness and the root of happiness. Happiness, we understand what the feeling is, but the causes of happiness on a relative level are different for different creatures. However, the deep root of happiness is freedom from the duality of subject and object, self and other, as being different. In the same way, we wish all sentient beings to be free from suffering and the root of suffering. We can look around and we see many different kinds of suffering due to disease, poverty, discrimination, and so on. But according to the Dharma view, the root of all suffering is not awakening to our own Buddha nature. That instead of being present in an open and connective mode, I remain within the cocoon of my identity, believing that I can define myself very precisely. I'm this kind of person, I believe in this, I like to do that, I don't like to do that. And so we consider ourselves to be a special kind of thing. If I have a cup like this one, I can say something about it. Where I bought it, how much liquid it holds, whether it keeps the heat of the tea for a long time or not. So in that sense, I can define the cup and its function. And in samsara, we tend to take that way of thinking and apply it to sentient beings. We develop our thoughts and understandings about the value and function of others. And we then believe that they are who we think they are. That we somehow have access to the truth, the true value of the other. From the Buddhist point of view, this is a delusion. Identity is a false construct. because we have a great potential. And our potential can be evoked by different circumstances. And so the issue is to see the basis of the potential, which is unborn emptiness, and thereby to open to the range of our potential, that we can respond in very different ways in different situations. We're not fixed. And then have the sense, oh, I can't be defined. I can't be caught by some kind of idea. And that applies to all sentient beings. I'm not going to put other people in a box. I'm not going to believe that I have definitive knowledge of who they are and their value. So this is at the heart of the Bodhisattva orientation. All beings have Buddha nature. They can be bright, they can have the depth of wisdom and the expanse of warmth and compassion. That is the potential which is not yet ripened. But because they have that potential, and that potential is the most important thing about them, the identity that I take them to have, constructed out of my limited experience of them, is merely an obscuration to their potential. So the root of suffering is not to see that infinite potential. Then we say, may all beings have the happiness which is not contaminated by any suffering. This indicates the happiness which is not constructed as an outcome of good actions, but it is intrinsic. And then the fourth of these immeasurables is particularly significant for thinking about repelling all troubles and dealing with destructive forces. As you say, may all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from cherishing friends and relatives and being dismissive of strangers and enemies. Now, we are fragile, reactive creatures on one level. We like life to be easy, we don't like difficulties. And if people behave in ways which seem to create difficulties for us, it's very easy to decide we don't like them. This kind of politician, or this kind of person who is illegally exploiting the resources of the forest. But the people who are working in these amateur mines in the jungle, they have the same orientation as us. Amateur means like they're not in a big professional company. They're just poor people trying to get something. They're not mining because they are bad people. They're mining because they want to get some money, and with that get some food and take care of their family. Buddha said very clearly, all sentient beings want to be happy, but the methods they choose to try to become happy don't lead to happiness. So when there's a right-wing government in power, they often think the main way to be happy is to kill all the communists. The people in power think, I like to relax. I want to be happy, to sit by my swimming pool. But people would take that away from me. I need to protect this for my family and my friends, which in a narrow frame is a virtuous intention. I want the people close to me to be happy. And on the basis of that, they engage in hostilities with the people they disagree with and end up killing and torturing many. They don't understand the nature of the mind. They don't understand emptiness. They don't understand Buddha nature. They have no clarity regarding karma. their actions are storing up a lot of suffering for themselves in the future. So that's why this fourth immeasurable is so important, because it's reminding us again and again, don't enter into prejudice and bias. People struggle in darkness. They are confused and they make mistakes, and the mistakes hurt people. That is true. But this doesn't make them bad people. There are no bad people and no good people. There are no people. Now that sounds stupid. But as the Buddha explained, what we call a human being is an interaction of the five heaps or the five skandhas. We exist as specific patternings of our potential. And this patterning is interactive. We show different aspects of ourselves according to different circumstances. There is no fixed, definitive essence to anyone. We have the possibility of opening to the widest extent of our potential or remaining in a very narrow portion of it. So this is the same for everyone we meet. Therefore, if we take a narrow position towards them, they're likely to return the favor by taking a narrow approach to us. Oh, again and again, whenever we find our mind forming into strong opinions, saying this is very, very good and this is very, very bad, then we need to take our attention away from the object that we are sure that we understand. And instead observe ourselves. What is this strong conviction? What is its status? It's a thought mixed with a feeling which is arising in my mind at the moment. It feels true. And on the basis of it, I want to behave in a particular way. But if I just stay with it, even for a short time, I notice that it's starting to dissolve and vanish. The intentions, the interpretations, the prejudices which arise in the mind are themselves without any true essence. So then there is the aspiration for happiness, which I think is self-explanatory, really. Because it's in ordinary language and expressing our good hopes for other beings. And then we have the Heart Sutra. In the Heart Sutra, it's an amazing document because it allows us to see how we have been living in a world of illusion. If we see that an illusion is an illusion, we don't get carried away by it. When you see a mirage on the road, if you're driving on a hot day, you know, oh, this is a mirage, it's not water. But if you didn't recognize that it was a mirage, you might think, oh, the road is flooded, and you swerve the car to avoid the water that looks very deep, and you crash. So the problem arises from taking the appearances and experiences which are like an illusion and taking them to be real. So whatever it is we are considering, when we look at it in the light of the Heart Sutra, the true discernment, the clarity of the mind that sees the actual nature of what appears is a quality which is not usually one we bring forward. on the basis of believing in the real existence of people and fruits and houses, we find in their givenness, the fact of their seeming true existence, a basis for our judgments and comments. So the Dharma view, the view of the Heart Sutra, is the middle way, which is free of all extremes. So on the one hand, it's saying everything which occurs is inseparable from emptiness. It appears, but that appearance has no true existence. So, okay, it has no true existence. Does that mean it's nothing at all? It's some kind of non-existent. What the Heart Sutra is pointing to is that you have appearance and emptiness. If you go swimming in the sea and the tide is a bit strong and you feel buffeted by the waves, each wave is simply a form of the sea. We feel that wave after wave is pushing us, and it's quite difficult to be able to swim. But the wave is the rising and falling of the surface of the sea. So when the sea appears as a rising wave, this is a wave, but it's the sea. It's the sea looking like a wave, but actually being the sea. The fact that the wave has no independent existence doesn't mean that it can't push you over. So if a big wave comes and hits you and you get pushed down into the sand, it doesn't make the wave real. It doesn't make it something self-existing, which is doing something to you. The wave has no self, no autonomous existence, but the energy force that's moving through the sea hits you in that way. So if we take this example and then we think about repelling obstacles, people behave badly. That is to say, for me, they behave in a way which runs against my intention or my hope or my plan. I don't like what they do. That belongs to me. That's my opinion. I might form it in my mind or through my mouth very strongly. They are bad people. They are bad. They are bad people because they do what I don't like. But does this make them inherently bad? Do they have a bad essential existence? When the hurricane season starts and the big waves come and they hit the shore and the roof comes off the poor fisherman's house, then this is a tragedy for the fisherman. But it doesn't make the wind bad. Destruction has occurred, but there's no essentially bad wind behind the destruction. Emptiness is saying that we are living in an interactive field. There are many movements or vectors of arising and vanishing energy which we are finding our life within. Because the energy is moving, we have to be alert, as grounded and balanced as possible, and able to respond in this shifting world. So that's like water. We are flowing in the flow of water. We're like a ripple in a stream. But when I decide that person is dangerous and bad, then I freeze them. I have condensed or created some sense of a defining badness which is inside them, and that's why they do what they do. They do it because they are bad. So then I can feel persecuted by bad people. But everything about them is form and emptiness, appearance and emptiness, sensation and emptiness. They are not truly existing, but they are appearing. They are appearing as a movement, a patterning of formative energy. They are empty of internal defining essence. So it's very important to examine the things around you in your world, to look into the Heart Sutra and to see how this understanding applies to everything that you know, including yourself. Our body is a complex interactive system. It's not a closed system because we have to breathe in and out, and we have to eat and drink and so on. Within our skin bag, all the different organs are interacting as the blood moves around. And the surface of our skin is sweating, and it's useful for helping us to control our temperature. And our body's manifesting according to the circumstances. The temperature, what height of seat we're seated on, how many stairs we have to climb, because when we climb the stairs, our body is moving according to the nature of the stair. So the more we have this understanding, I am an interactive system. Then the troublemakers, or in the traditional Indian language, the demons, the forces which oppress me, they also, I can see, are interactive systems. But in my lack of clarity, I impute a true existence to these other people, whether they're politicians or bandits or criminals, whatever kind of people are doing things I don't like. My tendency is to think they exist, they behave in ways which make me afraid or anxious, and I don't like them. So then we have to see, oh, I feel anxious, I feel afraid, and this fear is being projected into the other person to make them seem, for me, very strong, very dangerous, a real threat to my existence. So when we look at ourselves, we see that as an interactive system, I am ceaselessly in the process of becoming new patternings, new ways of speaking, different vocabularies according to who I'm speaking with, and so on. My fear is making them seem real. If I can dissolve my fear, they will be less real for me. And there are different practices in Buddhism concerned with this. And here, when it's repelling the troubles, the Dokpa section, it begins by reminding us that everything arises in dependent origination. There are no fixed, truly bad or dangerous people. Every sentient being has much more potential than that. But just as other people can collapse into a narrow segment of their own potential, so we also, on you go, sorry. I can collapse into a similar narrow section of my own potential. So what this Dokpa is saying, the enemies or the people who cause difficulties for you are manifesting patterns of the potential of the ground. They are empty patterns. You also are an empty pattern. You are dynamic and emergent, and they also are dynamic and emergent. So if we stay with this interactive dynamism and we see the inherent emptiness of these phenomena, we see that they have no real existence. And therefore we can say they must be repelled. We must be free of them. They must be pacified. And then we say, dok, dok, dok. And dok simply means go back, reverse. Because we're saying this to a wave of emergent energy, not to an intrinsically bad person. I know you are very bad. Please don't harm me. Go away. We're not saying this. What we're saying is that in the bandwidth or in the extent of our potential, we can get trapped in a narrow positioning. And usually that's infected with one or more of the 5 poisons. So we have the first is this mental dullness or opacity, which takes phenomena to be real existence. Then we have desire, I need, I want. Then aversion, I don't like, I hate. Then pride, I am the special one, I am the most important one. Jealousy, you're going to take away what is precious to me. You're going to deprive me what I believe to be mine. So when these 5 tendencies start to be connected with my sense of your real existence and that you are hostile to me, then emotions arise very quickly. Then strong emotions arise very quickly. So of the 5 poisons, the first is the most important, because this is the deluding belief that there are really bad people. So we have an emergent pattern, which is an energetic formation. And because it's energy, it can go back. Just as if you were playing tennis or a game like that. The person you're playing with is hitting the ball and trying to get it into your area in a way that you will not be able to hit it back easily. You want to hit the ball. Then the ball goes from your side to their side. Because the ball is moving and it has some energy in it, and then your racket hits it and it bounces and goes back. So as an image or a metaphor, it's a bit like somebody has a hostile intention towards you and they're coming towards you, invading your territory, but it's dynamic. It's an energy which is moving. And because it is moving and has no fixed reality to it, we can send it back. That is to say, I'm not going to go under the power of this idea that you are in charge of me or you can trouble me. Because we arise as emergent energy in our body, in our voice, in our mind. This is arising like a wave of water. And if the water is coming in from the sea and it hits the wooden posts of the pier that is built into the sea, the water will go around the post. We've all seen this kind of situation. Water moves according to this shaping of the environment. So if you move with what is moving, this brings a change in the direction of the movement. And that's different from ice. Well, the ice is fixed. So the heart of this practice of the Dokpa, of sending back, of repelling, is to see the is not to solidify the provocations and the dangers that you encounter in life, not to become a victim, because then you shrink in and you become more dense and limited inside, but to stay in movement. So we say, go back, go back. Noise, dok, comes out of our mouth, our hands clap together. Dok means I am an expressive, energetic field, and when my energy meets your energy, it will disperse your energy. This is important to notice. I'm not fighting you. I'm not trying to defeat you. I don't want victory over you, but I'm deflecting you so that this negative intention coming towards me moves away. I am not a target. I'm not a fixed person. I'm an emergent movement of the energy of connectivity within the non-dual field. So the practice of the repelling, the Dokpa, is truly embedded in the understanding of emptiness and dependent co-origination and impermanence. And the deeper our own understanding of bodhicitta, our intention to benefit beings, the more we can do the Dokpa with a pure motivation. So that when we say, may all beings be happy, may all those who wish to harm me be happy. May all those who act like an enemy towards me be happy. I'm not looking for revenge. I'm not trying to punish the other. What I'm trying to do is to stop their negative intention coming towards me and thereby diminishing the negative impact of that action for them. For example, if you go out in the street with your wallet or your money stuck in a very visible place and you're not paying attention, and somebody steals from you, they have committed a crime, but you have facilitated their committing the crime. You're not an innocent victim. You're implicated in the crime because you have made it easy for them to steal from you. So in the same way as in martial arts, the idea is to stop the other person hurting you, but without retaliating and hurting them. You simply want to get them to fall on the mat. And if you ever see any videos of the great masters of martial art, with very minimal intervention, they can cause someone else to fall down. So in the same way, we're not mobilizing, thinking you are a bad person, I have to stop you. Our understanding is that out of emptiness, this deluded formation is arising like a storm wave towards me, and I'm sending it back, I'm deflecting it. So this is the basic point of the practice. Release ourselves from the freezing fear and anxiety that would turn us into a victim, so that we remain grounded and open in our bodhisattva commitment to help all beings, and we use that commitment to the benefit of the other to intervene when they are acting in a blind negative way towards us. We want to have an open response which is free of the polarity of winning and losing, so that we remain grounded and open, full of love and good wishes for all beings. Well, this is the basis for this repelling practice. No doubt many, many difficulties will arise in the next months and years in terms of politics, economics, climate change, gang warfare. So many unsettling forces are around, causing people to lose their sense of ethical purpose. So that's why when earlier this year, I wrote the prayer for peace. It's a way of reminding ourselves of our deepest and highest and truest intention to benefit people from within the view of non-duality. Oh, it's reasonably easy to follow, and it's saying what we call people doing bad things is an interpretation of energy which is blind to its own source. Because we don't understand our open, empty ground, we don't awaken to our own Buddha nature. Not seeing how it actually is, we imagine that I exist and you exist. Self and other are imagined or interpreted. They are not descriptions of the actual. So in the same way, friend is a description of a particular patterning arising due to causes and circumstances, just as is enemy. So if we say, oh, you are my friend, I know I can always rely on you, this is to betray the teachings of the Buddha. He said many times, all compounded things are impermanent. We know that romantic relationships are difficult to maintain, as are friendships. They arise due to causes and conditions, and they can end due to causes and conditions. Although we might like them to continue, we can't make them continue because there's no substantial basis for them. These are patterns of relating which are dynamic. So this takes us back to the fourth of the four immeasurables, to equanimity. So that we, instead of dividing the world into friends and enemies, good people, bad people, we stay even and open and receptive to the emergence of all the many different patterns which can occur. Yeah, we are living in difficult times. There will be many provocations, many invitations to develop strong judgments about what other people do, what we do, and so on. But if we're wanting to integrate our life into the Dharma understanding, we have to see that these formulations, these shapings into a definite understanding are actually an obscuration. That is to say, we need to stay in the game, stay dynamic, stay connected, stay moving and responsive. When we come to a conclusion about someone, they are good, they are bad, then we put in a full stop and we say, that is who they are. And the Buddha is saying, if you do that, you have created a kind of blindness for yourself. Because if I know you are a bad person, I make it impossible for me to see your potential to be good and helpful and kind. You don't have that because I know you are bad. So my certainty becomes an obscuration. In life, if we want to be at the heart of the practice, we have to be grounded, but not fixed. We have to be light and ready to move as required. And our guiding principle is, let's see. We don't know what the future will be. But if we're here, present, connected, we can respond with optimal contact to whatever is the emergent situation. So let's hope that this new book will encourage more people to become interested in Dharma and find out more about how they actually are. So my thanks and congratulations to all the people involved in the production of the book. And my thanks to you for attending our little meeting this evening, and to Pedro for maintaining the Zoom and for facilitating our possibility, and to Milton for translating. So that's all for today. So warm greetings to you. Warm greetings to you all. Bye, bye, bye.
Beijo, pessoas.
Bye,
Obrigado.
bye.
Obrigado.
Beijo.
Beijo.
Tchau, tchau.
Ciao.
Valeu.
Ciao.
Valeu.
Bye.